Hello. So usually I get on here and share like terrible things that are happening, escaping domestic violence and being married to a DoD member. But I have amazing news. That bifurcated divorce that my now ex-husband, the relief, it's palpable. Okay, there is sadness. I, as a practicing Catholic, which if you've been following me for a minute, you know I converted to Catholicism for my now ex-husband. I'm going to try really hard not to call him my abuser anymore because he is a veteran, and I am going to do my best to give him grace because I've been working with some like veterans groups lately who are helping me understand the cycles of domestic violence that happen where like a lieutenant colonel like him could literally like in his mind think that he's the victim. And I'm like, what universe do you live in, homie? Like you hid weapons in the rafters of our garage and called the police. Like the fuck? Like I don't even know. I literally would not even know how to load a gun. If you put all the bullets in front of me, I'd be sitting there going, fuck. Not to mention, I don't have the passcodes to the guns. My fingerprints don't unlock them. I didn't know where they were hidden in the first place. So how the fuck was I gonna know that they were up in the rafters when the cops show up and go, hey, let's get the guns. And I'd be like, I don't know where the guns are. And then he comes home and pops us with them. Whatever. All that aside, that's the trauma talking. I've been working with these veterans who are out of the military, obviously, and have healed, and they've given me a little bit of insight. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? Because this person has caused so much harm and so much pain, and it has been incalculable, like in my life and in my children's life. But at the same time, before the military, converted his brain and turned him into a robot. And I can tell you the exact year it happened. It was 2014. We were stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Asuncion, Paraguay. That's the last time I remember my husband, the man I married, being around. And then it just slowly changed because everybody goes, how were you married for 17 years and you didn't know? It's like, okay, well, things creep up on you. And I got married at 21 and we were living a life, and then we had 2 kids and So it creeps in. And so did the deployments, the Iraq tour, the Afghanistan tour, Ranger School, all the things. All that said, usually I get on here in the middle of a trigger, but I've had 2 triggers in the last week, month. And since I got my service dog, Luna dog. Oh, shoot. Well, that is my beautiful service dog, Luna dog. If you suffer from PTSD and you've tried everything, try a service dog. I got Luna. She was a rescue from the Palisades fire, and she's an angel. She's literally a godsend. When I'm really getting stressed, I hold her. I used to have another dog named Strawberry, who was also a rescue, she was never an official service dog, but I used her as a service dog. And then when I separated, I asked my ex if I could have the dog. Even just her, and he was like, no, you can't have her because whatever his reasons. It's control, which takes me back to what I just wanted to talk about. I'm so sorry, this is moving. I should probably pause this and come back. We're just gonna keep going. I've been working with these veterans groups. Okay, so I have a new house on my counter because I'm a grown up and I live alone and I can sit on my own counter in my own house. I pay the rent. And it's not military housing. Okay, here we go. I've been working with these veterans, and they were like, is there even a shred of grace that you can give this man? And I was like, oh, you're asking so much. And they're like, yeah, but here's the thing. That anger that you're carrying, he's also carrying it towards you, towards the military, towards himself, probably towards his parents, probably to everything. Veterans just generally have a lot of anger, and it's from a lot of the things that they've seen and a lot of things that they've gone through. And I get it, but at the same time, it's I'm not the enemy. I was the mother of your children. I am the mother of your children. The children that you claim are not safe being with me, yet you deployed multiple times and left me home alone with them, overseas multiple times, while you're out talking to prostitutes in rural Africa, on med caps, what universe do we live in where these soldiers can get it in their heads that like either A, they're the victim, or B, they didn't actually do anything wrong. And I was talking to these veterans, and it was so incredible, like what they were sharing, because it's like a PTSD group. And I'm like, fuck, I like think I want to hear what you have to say, asshole. Like, you're probably a dick. You probably did shit to your wife. Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, hey, yes, all of those things. Yes, you are correct. But they all said, like, it took them time to realize that. And it took them getting out of the military and deprogramming. And the insight that they gave me, like one conversation with a veteran who was on the other side of what I had experienced, like they had been the one to do that to somebody, but also they had the exact same mentality that my now ex-husband, who I used to call my abuser, my DOD deadbeat, now I'm just gonna call him my ex-husband, because he is a veteran, and I do, you know, I am trying to understand like their journey more, because like I thought I did, but that was like when I hadn't been hurt by it. And now my brother, who's a veteran, who struggles with his stuff, which like he really struggles with stuff that by the grace of God, even though we grew up in the same family, we have the same genetics, I don't struggle with. And I'm like, fuck, like I can't imagine if I was struggling with like the trauma I grew up with as in a family, and then we lost our oldest brother in Iraq in 2003, so we are dealing with that as family trauma, and then that brother goes to war with my ex, which is how I met him. They were college buddies, which I'll get to why that's important in a second. They were Penn State ROTC buddies. And if you've watched my podcast, The Trebuchet, I don't think these episodes are out yet. I don't know when they'll be released. It's with production. But I talk about that, how like my ex was able to utilize his ROTC connections with other Penn State alumni to just like railroad me, get me banned from base, and like all this crazy stuff that I recently talked to another garrison commander who had no idea I was going through any of this. And along the way, like there have been heroes. There have been soldiers who have stepped in and been like, absolutely not, under no circumstance. Like my best friend's husband is a colonel, just retired. If it were not for that family, I would have died, like 100%. And I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I'm not reckless, but I would have died. Like I wouldn't have eaten for days. I wouldn't have slept for days, and like anything could have happened to me. I was in such a vulnerable state. And this soldier and his wife, who didn't live on base, took me in and loved me back to wholeness. And like, I don't know if I've like shared that part of the journey, but I make no bones about the fact that like I would not have survived without that colonel and his wife. Like a colonel's wife had to like step in. But there were other colonels' wives who I had confided in who just went the other way. And like a woman named Amelia Keaton, like I call her out by name because she's not just an educator. And like in the school district where I taught, she's a colonel's wife. And I went to her like with the military code where I was like, hey, like this is going on. And like you've seen kind of like a little bit behind closed doors. I've kind of shared what's like, she'd seen us in public settings, and like, you know, I mean, she seemed like a legit human. And then when push came to shove and it came down to like her husband actually stepping in and doing the right thing, he didn't. I'm like, oh, I got no problem calling you out because you're the worst kind of military wife. You're the kind of military wife who knows that another military wife is in trouble. But instead of saying, what can I do to help? You zip your lip and turn tail and run the other way. And years ago, I talk about this on my podcast, a woman called me out for that. She wasn't military, but she was a Black woman. And she was like, Autumn, you as a white woman, not speaking out about the shit that these white men are doing, and like whatever their privilege, you are complicit. And I was like, I really don't see it like that. Like I'm not, I think it's like kind of like, it's like a lot to attack like one group of people. And she's like, and I was like, and I don't think they actually know what they're doing. And she's like, see that right there, that's silence, that's compliance. And you're perpetuating it because white women like you give birth to white babies, like white males, who then like perpetuate this behavior because nobody checks them. And it really kind of like hit me. And then my best friend's Black, and I talked to her and I was like, Adrienne, like, what am I missing? What's going on? And she's also a military spouse. And like, I watched her husband make it to the freaking top of the top of the top just for the Army to shit on him. And I'm like, oh, is anybody surprised? Like the Army just shits on us. Like at some point, there's never like we just really appreciate everything you've done for us. Let us give you something. It's like, no, the the reward is surviving it, and if you're lucky, maybe you get your pension. But even if you get your pension, veterans are dying at 25 suicides a day. What? Which brings me back to why I'm starting this. So normally I get on here and I share, like, okay, I'm having a trigger and it's being caused by my ex who's abusing me, who's still like engaging in post-separation abuse, which he still is. Like, I recently found out he's like accusing me of violating the restraining order, and it's like, what now? Because I'm on the internet talking about my abuse and my PTSD that was caused by you and caused by the military, which doctors that you forced me to go see and pay $30,000 for caught you red-handed trying to get access to my medical records fraudulently, A, then B, intentionally by emailing them and calling them and saying, you need to give me those, I paid for them, I'm entitled to them, and civilian providers being like, I'm sorry, what? Like, no, you don't get your wife's OBGYN records because we're showing A, you're not on her HIPAA, and B, you're actually separated, and C, didn't you just pretend to be from TRICARE? But now who are you? You want to come in person? TRICARE doesn't come in person to get records. Whatever. I digress on all that because I was going to get on here and talk about how we had a bifurcated divorce, which he converted it to a divorce, which at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose my health care. I'm going to lose like all these things. And I was so sad and so stressed and so scared. And as a Christian and as a practicing Catholic, and as just guilt that I grew up with, like family guilt, I really felt like getting a divorce was not what I wanted. I never wanted to be divorced. I was like, you know what? We'll do this the old school way. We'll just, I'm a Catholic now. He didn't force me to become a Catholic. I became a Catholic because I thought it would be the one thing that would get him to stop doing all the things that he was doing. No, it escalated it because God then took his position as the ultimate authority in my life, and then that really ramped up, and then he tried to arrange an exorcism through the church by telling me I was possessed by demons. Went and saw the priest, which this audio has actually been provided to a outlet, like a, whatever, it's with the news, and they couldn't believe it. They were like, is this for real? I was like, no, this is real. Like, you can call this priest. Like, this is his name. And they were like, everything I told them, they were like, but how do we know? And I was like, well, here's the audio. I learned the hard way. Like, my ex did so much surveillance and like chicanery on me because like the paranoia of the military that I was like, what can I learn from being the victim of this to like benefit me? And it's like, oh, always have a witness. Always have a witness, because if something's taking part and like whatever, okay. Also, educate yourself, learn the rules, figure out where you are, figure out what the laws are. Always do your research, because the military doesn't care. They will spy on you no matter what. But if you're a civilian and you try it, eek. But just do your research, find out what verbiage you need to use, find out what permissions you need to ask, find out like who, what, when, where, why, how. Please do that. Again, I digress. I didn't think a divorce was going to be the best thing for me and my kids on a like religious level. I was like, we'll go the old school way and we will stay married, but be legally separated, and then we can kind of go on with our lives. And I thought that that would be the best for my kids, because the truth of the matter, and I will tell anybody this, like, I still love my husband, my ex-husband, because the man that I married, I loved deeply. But the man that I divorced, I don't know that guy. Like, I literally don't know that guy. And it sounds kind of crazy. He was into like remote viewing, and he like got really into this guy named, what's his name? Dave something. He's a remote viewer. He was part of that like Stargate project. Max got like super into it and was doing all the remote viewing, astral projection, whatever. It sounds cuckoo, but like, if somebody were to tell me like, oh, they actually just like swapped out his soul with somebody else's, I'd be like, I'll believe it. What year? 2014? Yep, I buy it. I buy it. It was probably like a slow buyout of his soul, but it definitely started after the Afghanistan deployment. But yeah, I totally believe it. I'm not saying that actually happened. I'm just saying if somebody told me that happened, I'd be like, yeah, because the person I married is not the man I divorced. The sweet guy from Penn State who I met when I was 21 is not the scary, unpredictable, well, that's not true. He's very predictable. If he can hurt me, he will. If he can control me, he will. If he can cost me money, he will. If he can make me give him money, he will. Like, he's asked for child support for kids he won't let me see. He took me off the insurance plan, even though the divorce decree clearly says you can't remove them from insurance or you have to provide it. Like, he does these things that then end up costing me money, because it's like, okay, I can either just like not have insurance, which is what I'm choosing to do now, or save and eat, or save a bunch of money, pay a lawyer to go get what I should have already had. And it's like, I'm just not that committed to being engaged in a battle with somebody who wants to win at all costs and sees no value in a truce, in a peace, in a whatever, because his ego can't sustain it. And so I took like a different approach, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop fighting. I'm just gonna be like, okay, you win. What do you want? You want me to pay your lawyer's fees? Okay, how much? $150,000? Take it out of the escrow. It's all yours. Like, I already fucking offered you to keep the escrow, the $300,000 you would have gotten in January 2024. Like, call your lawyer. It's on audio, or better yet, I'll send you the audio. Well, I can't send it to you, but like, I'll post the audio, because she already lied and said that she was alone during the audio, which again, always check the laws, because like, lawyers lie. Like, literally, they just lie. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, I didn't know you could actually just do that. Like, you can just like say whatever you want, and as long as you don't get caught, it doesn't count. But like, if you catch a lawyer lying, they're like, well, I mean, it wasn't real. And you're like, wait, how did you just like, what? Like, crazy. Divorce a narcissist. See what happens. You will learn a lot. But all that to say, I offered him this day one. I was like, you don't have to give me alimony, you don't have to give me child support, you don't have to pay my medical, you don't have to do any, like, just you go get help and I'll go get help, and we will separate, and I'll live in a little apartment. We can co-parent the kids. And then I like kept trying to do that, and because I loved that man that I married, and I wanted to stay in that marriage, even if we had to be separated for a couple of years. I was like, maybe when he's out of the military, like, or maybe when his parents pass away, because they've got some weird, yeah, we will not even get into the in-laws, like, trust me. Whatever. I was like, things change, right? The world goes on, but our kids will always be our kids. And the 3 children we brought into this world will always need 2 parents who are happy and healthy. And I gain nothing by destroying him. Yet he hasn't seemed to grasp that the only person who loses when he tries to destroy me is our children, because I'm a cockroach and I'll survive. Why? Because my mom and dad were both in the military. Because my oldest brother was killed in Iraq in 2003. Because my other older brother served in Iraq and got blown to smithereens and is whatever. Like, I've already done the military family drama, all of it. I've already done it, and I've survived it. And it's been hard, and the PTSD is horrific, but I have found ways to like cope and adapt and bounce back. And my doctor always says, he's like, you are incredibly resilient. You are incredibly resilient. What tool can I give you today? What treatment can I give you today to help you keep being that resilient person that you are? And I'm like, thank you for seeing that I'm at least trying, because, you know, like, by the grace of God, I don't struggle with addiction, or like, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, like, and like, literally by the grace of God, because if I did, I wouldn't have survived this. I mean, okay, I'm a coffeeholic, everybody knows it, but besides that, it's like one big vice. You can tell my teeth are yellow, whatever. Where I'm going with all of this is, I usually get on here and I'm like, triggered. Luna has been a lifesaver. She helped me ground, and having another like soul to care for, because like for so many years I survived my PTSD, and I survived in a hard marriage, which another colonel who I was talking about earlier, who was like, God, Autumn, if I'd known what you were going through, like, I wish I could have helped. Because if like that colonel had been in charge when all this happened, like, everything would have been like, boop, boop, done. Because they saw that, and he would have seen the domestic violence for what it was when it was. So it really does come down to like personalities. And I don't necessarily blame the military like as a system for how things are bad. I think it's just like, if you get like 2 or 3 bad actors in a group, And then it's kind of like a rat's nest, and you're like, oh, well, now we just have 3 assholes in one spot. So of course it's going to be bad for everybody. But then you ferret 1 or 2 of them out, and then it's okay. Or you get them to turn on each other. That is fun to watch, like when the rats eat each other alive. No, it's not fun. It's actually very sad, because talking to this veteran, that is what they all told me, but this one guy I was talking to in particular was saying his journey as a veteran. It took him 7 years. He's been out 7 years. And I was like, how did you get here? Like, how did you get to this point where you can just like talk to me? We can just be like, I was like, I would give anything for this level of self-awareness in my ex. Even if it's like, he doesn't even have to say he's sorry for everything that he's done, the hell that he's put me through, which like, there's so many people in my life who have like literally like kept me alive. Like, they'll be like, you need to eat right now. You need to drink right now. Like, don't give up. Like, we will make it through another day. We will make it through another hour. We will make it through another minute. Like, there were times when I was just like, I was never suicidal. I was never going to kill myself, but I was just like, God, take me now. I can't keep doing this. And like, I got hit by a drunk driver, and at first I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful to be alive. And then like the next day I was like, fuck, that would have been my ticket out. Why didn't you take me? And then it's because God had a different plan for me, and now that he is showing me it, and like I'm seeing all of the beauty and all the benefits, and being with these veterans who are like, hey, how about this? Like, because this is like a trick or a tool or whatever that they've learned, and the therapy that the VA has given them, which again is amazing that the VA is tracking that like dudes like my ex, like praise the Lord. Like, I didn't know this, and now that I know this, I'm like, it's like little things, like one, getting my divorce. Like, now I'm free, and I was able to make a bunch of legal moves, like buy things and move things, and like I was just able to do so much so quick. He tried to stop it, but then they were like, you're divorced. And he was like, no, it's fraudulent. It's like, homie, you're the one that converted it to the divorce. Like, we're not buying the bullshit anymore. Like, we're done. We're done here. We've seen what we need to see. Immediately it's a no. Okay, I'm joking, but like God is good, and God can always, at least in my belief, or prayer, or peace, or serenity, or whatever, like whatever you believe in, whatever higher power, he was always working in our favor, even if we can't see it. And like, there were so many dark nights, and like being away from my kids, that I was just like, I can't get through this. And because I survived for so many years in a not great state with my PTSD and in an abusive marriage, because I had my kids, and I was like, but I got my babies. Like, I've got my kids, and like, they were my heart, they were my soul, they were my peace, they were my serenity, they were my, they were my kids, and so they were chaos, and they were kids, and I'm up late, and I'm like, oh my gosh, being a mom's a lot, but they're my eternity. And so not having them was like being in this void of like, I've lost my identity as a military spouse, which I was like kind of okay with, like letting go. It was like a death, and I let it go, which is what a lot of veterans go through. It's just like, I'm learning, and I'm like, oh, so I'm just like ahead of my ex. And I always have been ahead of him in things. Like, it takes him time to like catch up. And like, as his wife, that was like, but as a person who shares children with a veteran and who wants the best for them, it's like, what can I do to, now that I'm in a great place, and now that I'm feeling good, and now that I'm happy and have a plan, and know that I just have to wait a little bit longer on the kid thing, and know that money is just money, and lawyers are just lawyers. And it's like, I'm letting go of so much of the anger and the resentment and it's like the hatred, because this veteran kept saying to me, he's like, listen, the VA doesn't care if you're pissed at it. Military, Army, they don't care if you're pissed at it, because they don't exist. It's a system. It doesn't care. The people in it might care, but then they move, or they change jobs, and then they never think of you again. And I'm like, oh, they'll think of me because I've got a podcast and I'll say their names. And they're like, yeah, even still. It's like, not really. And I'm like, I know. Okay, so what do I do to get rid of this feeling? What do I do to like, unburden my soul? And they go, can you find it anywhere in your heart to have compassion for your ex-husband? I'm like, that's the thing. That's all I had for so long, until the pain and the hurt and the control. Like, I'm like, we are divorced, and he's still trying to put his fingers and stuff. Like, he's like, I'm going to need some more information about this land that you're purchasing by yourself with your own money that you work 3 jobs at. Like, I'm going to need more info before I can say I'm legally divorced from you. It's like, but you're legally divorced from me. What, like, why does it matter? And then it's like, oh, because it's about the control. And that's what this vet said. He said, the military literally will train a soldier out of having a family. Like, he's like, literally, they will put you in these positions where it's your career or your family, your wife or and they put you in these, like, and I get it that it becomes a matter of survival. And I'm like, okay, well, no wonder so many of them have PTSD. And it's a new chapter in this healing where instead of seeing myself solely as the victim or seeing myself solely as the perpetrator, which, like, there was a period of time where, like, he had gaslit me so bad that I was like, maybe I do have demons. Oh my gosh, maybe I do need an exorcism. And I'm talking to the priest. I'm like, I don't know, do I? And he's like, what the fuck? No, we don't need an exorcism. We don't do exorcisms anymore. That's like, what? No, we don't. This is like 2025. Oh, it's 2023. It was 2023. We don't do those anymore. But now that, like, I don't see the world through his lens anymore, and I'm not being told how bad I am every day, how ugly I am, how fat, how stupid, how one day I'm not well behaved enough in front of senior leaders, another day I was behaved enough, I'm menstruating too much, I'm not menstruating enough, like you guys, now that I can, like, step back and see that everything that happened with our family is now on the VA's radar, and, like, they are tracking him. They will be tracking him, like, pre-discharge, because, like, eventually these guys retire or they get out or whatever, because the suicide rate amongst veterans is so high, which brings me back to how I started this. And I, like, dimed out this woman named Amelia Kievit and her husband, what's his name? James, Colonel James Kievit, who was a Penn Stater with my ex. Like, they're all Penn State guys. I reached out to them privately and I said, like, hey, listen, like, we're going through something as a family. I would really like to handle this, like, privately, because I'm genuinely concerned that once it gets public, my ex will kill himself. Maybe me, maybe the kids, maybe all of us, I don't know, but, like, his ego wouldn't be able to sustain the fallout of it. And that's when I thought that, like, he wasn't going to turn on me, because he would just be like, oh my God, like, this, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done what I did. I that's inappropriate. Shouldn't have touched you. Like, like, I was still thinking he was going to, like, take accountability. He probably will never. And if he does, it won't be until he's out of the military, in the VA, or in therapy, because that's what all these veterans said. And I was like, so when do you guys get to this point? And they're like, 2-3 years after. Once the God complex wears off, because when you are a lieutenant colonel or colonel in the army or whatever, these officers, they have these God complexes. And then if you're special forces, even if you're enlisted or whatever, it's like, there's this, like, oh, but once that wears off, and then they realize they're just like humans like the rest of us, they start to feel again, and they come back to themselves, and then they try to go get help. And I was thinking about one of my older brothers, and how long it was after he got off active duty and he got into a program. And I was like, yeah, I guess it was about 7 years when he really started to kind of realize, like, okay, I got an issue, I got to do that. And then, like, was white knuckling it. And then and I was like, huh. So now I just, like, have it on my calendar. I'm like, okay, 20, whatever. I mean, I don't know how long you'll be in, but I'm like, okay, cool. So, like, maybe when the kids are in college, we can, like, heal. Love that for us. But at the end of the day, talking to these veterans, because, like, when you're escaping domestic violence and you're surviving domestic violence and you're healing from PTSD from, like, childhood trauma and then military trauma and marital trauma, intimate partner violence, which, like, here's the thing. If somebody sexually assaults you, yeah, I said it, and they have a penis and you don't, they are the perpetrator. Period. You know why? Because I don't have a penis, and I did not try to touch anybody with it, and I didn't put it anywhere somebody didn't want it when they said they didn't want it. And that's what I'll say about that. And that is a hard fact. Like, hard fact. And you can't walk around it in any capacity. And in my situation, because it was also well medically documented, if the individuals in charge had actually seen the documentation, like, it wouldn't have gone this way. But I was so scared of ruining his life and his reputation that I kept that back. But it's like, looking back, I'm like, oh, if I had it to do over again, would I have like screamed about it louder sooner, or waited until the world engulfed me? And it's like, no, I'm okay with how it ended up, because this was my soul's journey. And now I have done, like, besides just healing from the PTSD, which is like, that's been incredible. Like, it really does help. Like, once you're able to get through like a trigger, which if you can like find a friend who has PTSD, like a battle buddy, who's maybe not military, and go through it with them, that's the secret sauce, because you can see, as long as you both like are understanding, like, oh, you're in a trigger, okay, let me help you through this trigger. Oh, no, I'm trigger, okay. And then when you both trigger at the same time, you're like, but if you come back to love and come back to center, you can get through it. And anyways, where I'm going with all of that is the military-industrial complex is going to do what the military-industrial complex does. It defends and protects our nation. It drops 30,000-pound bunker busters into our enemies to strike the fear of God into them. And I'm not gonna lie, when that was all going down, I said to this veterans group, I said, because they were like, well, can you look on the positive? Is there anything positive you can look at that he got to keep his career and I said, you know what? Okay, yes. As a matter of fact, yes. Do you remember when Hamas got all those beepers, those pagers that, it was like when Hamas and Israel were, like after October 7th, and was that 2023? 2024? Anyways, after that, 2023, the Israelis sent these pagers and cell phones as bombs, but like only half of them were bombs and the other half were actual telecommunications. And so by dispersing them into Hamas, that were just like, the terrorists, or who they were calling the terrorists, which like, I don't know anything about international politics. I'm just using this as like an example to paint a picture. What they did was they took out their communication lines and they blew some what they were calling terrorists up. Like, I think they're terrorists. I don't know, whatever. They blew up their enemies and they completely crippled their telecommunications because they weren't able to, like, it's like, oh fuck, like, is this one a bomb? Is this one a bomb? Is it? So like they didn't know which cell phone or which pager was gonna be a bomb, so they all stopped using them. So the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, effectively, like, it was a double win. They blew up some of them, killed some of them, and then like strangled their communication lines because they didn't, whatever. And somebody sent me an article about that. It was like, oh man, isn't this crazy? I was like, no, that actually sends chills down my spine. They're like, why would you say that? I'm like, because that's literally the type of like terrifying psychological warfare shit that my ex would come up with. And they were like, what? And I'm like, no, literally. Like if he was the one who came up with that, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he was. Don't want to give him that much credit, but that's how his brain thinks. And so when I heard about it, I didn't think, wow, that's so clever. I was like, oh, that's the siege I'm under. No one knows it's so hard to escape. Yeah, I'm outmatched. I better just run and duck and hide. Like, I better stop. I just better find cover. So anyways, to get back to the Iran situation, we do need our military to be strong. We need it to be, indomitable and just strike the fear of God into every other nation. Anybody else, like, you want to get nukes, you better think twice. And you need warriors and you need soldiers who can put the mission first at all costs, can sacrifice their lives for their brothers and sisters in arms, their battle buddies. But those soldiers also are human beings who oftentimes have a wife and children at home. And when they come back from, even if it's just the office where they're coming up with this stuff and have to like become humans again, like over time, it changes them. And, maybe shorter tours are in order. Like, is being a career officer great for our nation because it like gives us these like psychos, like literally, like we've got these freaking like psychos running around, or is it not good? I don't know. I haven't really like reached a conclusion. All I know is that we are losing 25 vets a day to suicide because when they get out of the military has done such a good job of like making them these basically killing machines that then they have to like come back into the real world and like human in ways where they aren't going to always win. They're not going to always be the most formidable person. And that's scary for people who are always in control. And that's what the vet said to me. He was like, can you just find a place of grace to understand that maybe the person who has been hurting you is also being hurt? And I was like, oh no, I totally see that. And I mourn that man. Like, I mourn the guy that I married. I think of him every day. I pray for that kid, that 21, 22, the sweetest guy ever. Like, wouldn't have married him if he was an asshole. Come on, guys. Like, I'm not a dummy. He was a great guy. Just shit happened. And he was like, maybe instead of being angry at the man that you divorced and the man that the military made, you can have grace and compassion for the human, the soul you married, and know that you brought kids into this marriage with that person, and that they went through something that changed them. And I was like, okay, but is he ever going to change back? He's like, well, no, don't hold your breath. Like, don't ask for miracles, all right? Leave that to God. Leave that to Jesus. But he said, but, for you, for your peace of mind, for your safety, for your sanity. And honestly, even just having that conversation with him and realizing that, like, these men are, or women, but mostly men, are the way that they are because of the military-industrial complex. And it's like, you could be victimized by it. You can both be the victim and the aggressor within the same system. Like, he's being victimized by a system, which makes him think that he's being victimized by me, which makes him think, and it's like, what? That doesn't add up. I'm confused here. Like, did I not give you 3 beautiful kids and follow you around, support your career, like, endlessly until I finally said, like, hey, stop, like, flirting with other people and stop getting text messages from people and stop doing the things that are, like, really not great, that make me super uncomfortable. And also, like, don't touch me when I don't want you to touch me, and, like, give me some space, and, like, stop telling me I'm possessed by demons, and, like, take some accountability for your own actions and behavior. Don't gaslight me. He's smarter than me. Stop talking me in circles. Everybody, now that I'm out and I'm, like, I'm not a military spouse anymore, they're like, Autumn, like, you're always, like, on defense, and, like, you can think circles around people before they've even said what you think they're going to say. You've got 15 points of defense. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I was married to somebody who, for not 17 years, but at least the last 10 of it, was like, this is where you're wrong, and that, and you're always going like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna get in trouble for next? What did I do today? Who could I, how can I not be the fall guy for this? What do I need to smile more? Do I need to sit up more? Do I need to clean more? Do I need to take my clothes off? Do I need to put my clothes on? Do I need to put my hair up? It's just, and then when you realize that's what they're going through in their job, and then they're bringing it home, it makes it a little bit easier. But, it brought me peace to hear this veteran say that the military-industrial complex will literally put soldiers in positions where they, like, have to choose, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, their career or their families, their wives or their children. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know. There's a little bit of peace in that. And it helped me get through a trigger recently, like a PTSD. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So hang tight if you're still in it. If you are divorcing a DOD deadbeat, they can be deadbeats, and then they can snap and do really scary things, like we just saw this Travis Decker guy do. And I'm like, could have told you that was going to happen, but nobody wants to listen to women when they are saying, hey, something's going on with these men, because they can be one way in front of, a crowd and then completely different at home. Like, everybody's like, well, we never thought your ex would do that. I'm like, yeah, because you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Like, I don't know what you do in your bedroom. Do you think you know what goes on in mine? Like, you don't. Like, nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. So when survivors finally have the courage to, like, say, like, okay, this is what's been going on, believe them. They're not doing it because, like, nobody wants to go $300,000 in debt in lawyers' fees, fighting for custody of their own kids who they were a perfectly good enough mother for 17 years, and then suddenly, because they want their freedom and, like, not even money, just literally just my peace and my freedom, I'm not, and I don't deserve it. But then it's like, oh, it's all just about the control. And he knows that he can't emotionally control me anymore. He can't physically control me anymore. He can't sexually control me anymore. Like, it really just comes down to the kids. But at the end of the day, like someday my kids are gonna be 18, and kids always want their mom. And like my whole goal in life is just to be a stay-at-home grandma. So I'm just gonna keep trucking until then. So all that to say, if you're in the throes of it, stay the course. It gets better. Pray if you pray. And if there is any part of you that ever loved the soldier that has hurt you, or the system that has hurt you, because I loved being an Army wife, like I really did. I took a lot of pride in it, and I loved it. I felt like it was my way of serving my country. Know that that's not in vain, and know that like this is just the end cycle of it, and it's what so many veterans are going through, and why we are losing 25 a day. So if you know a vet and they're an asshole, reach out to them anyways and say, hey, thanks for your service, and do you want to go for a walk or get a cup of coffee or take a surf lesson or come pick some cactus with me or whatever. Because chances are they are going through something in their own mind, in their own body, in their own soul that's really, 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 really difficult. But because of their programming and because of the fact that they can't say anything until they are out, which is why the VA tracks it before they even get out. The VA is like flagging, like, he's at the 30 percentile. Because they've got all these calculations, which I didn't know about until I met all these veterans who were like, oh, these are the calculations for the 1% and how you get off the VA's radar and how you get into, I'm like, what? Because these are fully disabled guys, right? From their service. And yeah, just know that there's systems in place and they're trying, and maybe as a society, if we shed a little bit more light on the fact that like these are human beings being asked to do really, really difficult things that most of us don't want to do and will never have to do, we can help them in their transition from soldier to civilian, and that can make the difference. So okay, that's my rant. Also, life's super good right now because I just like stop feeling bad about stuff. Okay, have a good one.